Funding for the Art Economist is supported by viewers like you. Thank you. If you asked somebody in 2021 which Korean gacha game company was going to dominate the decade, they probably would have said Devsisters. If you asked somebody in 2025 which Korean gacha game company was going to dominate the rest of the 2020s, they probably would have said Devsisters. The Cookie Run IP has existed for over a decade at this point, with two massive launches, especially during the 2020s. We had the release of Cookie Run Kingdom, pulling in millions upon millions of dollars, mostly from overseas. Then, in 2025, Shadow Milk Cookie was released, and the entire internet went crazy for this Smurf-looking, Kokichioma-looking ass. By all intents and purposes, this company should be dominating. This company should be raking in the dough. But they are very clearly not. We are talking about 46.4 billion Korean won in cumulative losses over the last year. We are talking about 4 straight quarters, an entire fiscal year of net losses and operating losses. Executives are foregoing their salaries. The company is offering voluntary retirement programs, despite the massive success of the Cookie Run IP. What could possibly be causing this? Because, normally, when you think about it, if your characters are fan favorites, people will pull for them. And if people keep pulling for them over and over and over again, you should be printing money. And that's the thing. They are generating massive revenue. But the gacha game market has a way of turning absurd amounts of revenue into equally absurd losses. In Q1 of 2026, Devsisters made 58.5 billion Korean won in gross revenue. In advertising and marketing, they spent $20.8 billion in Korean won. That translates to a 35.5% revenue to advertising ratio. That is an absurd amount. We're going to repeat this again, okay? Devsisters spent 35% of its revenue on advertising and customer acquisition. Out of every single dollar the company earned in Q1 of 2026, over a third of it went right back into maintaining and getting new players. Why? Well, we're going to have to take a detour and talk about the Premier League for the moment. Many clubs in the Premier League, and many top football clubs in general, generate absurd amounts of gross revenue. They have massive stadiums, massive ticket sales, lucrative television deals, and worldwide fan bases. Yet, many of them still operate at a loss. Why is this? It's due to what I like to call Premier League syndrome. In a market, let's say Chelsea signs a superstar. We're going to say Lukaku. Arsenal now has to sign somebody. And if Arsenal signs somebody, then Manchester City has to sign somebody. The top clubs have enough raw revenue to keep playing this game. The mid-table clubs don't. We're talking about the clubs that finish around 12th to 15th every season. They have to still spend like the Giants just to remain competitive, but they don't have the same revenue or star power as Manchester City, Arsenal, or Barcelona. They are constantly strapped for cash. It's exactly the same with gacha games. First, you have the 30% platform fee from the App Store and Google Play. Companies like Hoyoverse have tried to move players onto their own storefronts specifically so that they can avoid giving up that margin. Once again, that's only the beginning. There's also freebies. Players constantly compare generosity between games. Monetization is constantly judged against the competition. Every anniversary has to be bigger. Every login campaign has to be more generous than everybody else's. Wuthering Waves versus Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact versus Honkai Star Rail. Honkai Star Rail versus Zenless Zone Zero. These games are still insanely competitive, despite the fact that 3 of them were made by the same company. This creates a second, hidden customer acquisition cost on top of actual advertising expenses. And of course, the market keeps expanding with new games. YoStar, Arknights, Project Moon suddenly releasing Limbus Company, long-running giants like Monster Strike, Puzzle and Dragons, and the Battle Cats are still around. And then we still have Hoyoverse with 3 of the biggest games on the market. There are only so many whales that the gacha ecosystem can support. Whales follow the fish. How do you get whales? You get players. Players create fan art. Players create YouTube videos. Players stream the game. Players become attached to the characters. That creates the community that whales want to invest in, which means that everybody has to spend money, which means that everybody has to hand out 1300 lunacy or 1150 cat food or whatever premium currency their game uses. Because whales will leave the moment a game starts looking like it's declining unless your IP is just that strong. So, in a way, I guess the story isn't really about Devsisters. It's a story about the gacha market itself. Even if you have the intellectual property, even if you have the beloved characters, even if you're making hundreds of millions of Korean won in revenue, there is still a chance that you simply cannot keep up with the cost of competing. Whether it's larger companies with deeper pockets, or smaller private studios with different incentives, everybody is locked in the same arms race. This is The Art Economist. I'll see you next time. Peace out. In recent years, Cookie Run Kingdom has leaned towards more aggressive monetization, with Beast and Biscuit, a level up system akin to leveling up equipment in Dungeon Fighter Online, with a bunch of random prefixes where you have to pay currency in order to re-roll them. Not to mention the controversy with the Ancient Plus / Awakening strategy, where they released a character that was already a character, but an awakened version of said character. Which means that you would have to pull for the same character again, rather than upgrading your character to their awakened version. This led to insane backlash, including buses at Devsisters, so they changed it back to a Soulstone Awakening system, where the average rate for getting these Soul Stones is currently 0.0371%. But anyway, with this aggressive monetization, they started greenlighting various things. And what did they greenlight? Well, they greenlit a puzzle game. Yes, Cookie Run's Witch's Castle. A tap-to-blast puzzle adventure game meant to capture the casual Candy Crush market. They also released a game called Cookie Run Oven Smash, a 3D real-time PvP Battle Royale MOBA hybrid. Think Brawl Stars. This game did not do well. Cookie Run Tower of Adventures, a 3D co-op action game where players fight up the Pancake Tower. Over and over and over again, these games didn't really necessarily make a larger audience, they just split the current audience from Cookie Run Kingdom into various other games. Not to mention that despite the fact that they have around 7 to 13 months of cash to sustain their burn rate, they announced a game called Project N Cookie Run New World. No bullshit, it is a hyper-expansive 3D open world RPG made in Unreal Engine 5. This company has posted 4 quarterly losses in the past 4 quarters. And they are currently announcing a 2029 open world RPG, despite the fact that they have 7 to 13 months of cash runway before they completely run out of money. But why is it like this? Why do they still keep losing money despite the fact that they've turned on their monetization into incredibly predatory amounts? Well,